Hi everyone! Welcome to the Jayda InStitches show. A little while ago, during a live stream, we showed you how to take one of our Fair Isle style double crochet graph samplers and turn it into a full-on granny square by adding that classic shell stitch border to it. Now we've got several tutorials on this kind of double crochet graph work. They are all a part of our Fair Isle style calendar blanket for the year 2023, including this snowflake, which was January. So today we are just going to focus on turning these little sampler squares into granny squares. And this lets you finish off the sampler into something useful. Maybe it's in cotton, so it's a dishcloth, or maybe it's a pot holder, or maybe you just want a whole bunch of new fancy granny squares to put aside so that you can turn them into some other kind of project down the road. Whatever the case may be, grab your sampler squares, grab your hooks, grab your yarn. We'll head on over to the craft table and we will stitch up some brand new double crochet graph sampler granny squares together. In order to turn our Fair Isle style samplers into a granny square, you're going to want a sampler. You're going to want some yarn, the same type and the weight category that you used to make your sampler. In this case, I used size 4 medium weight acrylic yarn, and I've got about 12 to 15 yards of my chosen border color here. You want a pair of scissors and a yarn needle and the same hook that you used to make the sampler as well. I used a 5.5 millimeter, also known as an I or a 9. And once you've got all that together, we can get started. We're going to take our yarn and we're going to start with a slip knot. With the right side facing us, we're going to join our yarn with a slip stitch in the top of the chain 2 that began row 11. So you're starting in the top of the turning chain. Chain 3. This chain 3 counts as a double crochet, and into that same space, so that if you pull up on it, you can see that little stitch where you joined, you're going to work 2 double crochet, chain 2, and 3 more double crochet, all into the same little stitch. So the same top of the turning chain. It's going to get kind of tight, but that's okay. And this is going to form the first corner of the granny square. You can work over top of your short tail or keep it to the back and we'll weave it in later. We're not chaining one in between our shells. We are going to have a nice sort of tighter shell stitch across the sides of our little square here. We're going to begin by skipping the first 3 double crochet stitches. So this is the chain 2 that we joined in. We're going to skip the first 3, find the next stitch, and work 3 double crochet into the top of it. And for the rest of this edge of the square, we're going to skip 2 stitches and 3 double crochet into the next stitch. 3 double crochet equals 1 shell. We're not bothering with chain 1 spaces because this is a tighter stitch, this little square, so we don't need the extra breathing room in between our shells. Now you can go on and create additional rows of shell stitch over and above this one, and it's the same thing. You don't need to use the chain 1 in between the shells, but you just work into the spaces in between shells. Skip 2 stitches, 3 double crochet into the next stitch, and continue that across to the last stitch of what was row 11 of the sampler. You're going to skip the last 2 stitches, find the top of the very last stitch of the row, and into the top of this last stitch, you're going to work a corner. 3 double crochet all into the same stitch, chain 2, and 3 more double crochet all into the same stitch. We are now working down the side of our square. We have 11 rows. So sometimes it helps to identify those rows. You can look at them by sort of this double crochet stitches. You can identify them maybe by the ease of the pattern. You might even want to make them marked out with stitch markers if you feel you need to, but this isn't really that difficult. All we want to do is space evenly 7 shells down the side of our square. So we're going to skip the edge of the first row, which is row 11 right here. This is where we just finished working into the top of it. We're going to skip this one. We're going to find the edge of row 10, and we're going to work 3 double crochet around that stitch. So don't bother splitting the stitch or looking for loops, just work right around that stitch. Skip the next row edge or the next double crochet, find the double crochet after that, and work 3 double crochet around it. Skip a row, find the next row, and if you get confused, just stop and look. So that's the next row I'm skipping, and it's this row right here that I'm looking for the double crochet stitch. Work right around that stitch, 3 double crochet. Skip the next row, find the row after that, 3 double crochet. Skip the next row, find the row after that, 3 double crochet. And this will be the edge of row 2. And that gives us 6 so far down the edge. Now we're going to identify the very bottom chain. This will be the chain at the bottom of this double crochet, and you're going to work a corner into that. 3 double crochet. This finishes the 7th shell for the side of our square. Chain 2, and into the same foundation chain right below that first double crochet stitch, 3 more double crochets. So shell, chain 2, shell. Now we want to mimic the top going back. These were skip 2, skip 2, skip 2. There's one little skip 3 of stitches over here. We're going to mimic that down here. So to start, we're going to skip the next 2 stitches, find the foundation chain underneath the 3rd, and work 3 double crochet into the bottom of that foundation chain. Skip the next 2 stitches, find the 3rd, and work into the bottom of that 3rd stitch, into that foundation chain, 3 double crochets. Skip 2, find the next one, and work 3 double crochet into the bottom of that stitch as well. So you're mirroring across the bottom what you did along the top. Skip 2, find the 3rd, 3 double crochet into the bottom of that stitch. We are going to have 7 shells across the top, the bottom, and both of the sides. Skip 2, find the next one, 3 double crochet. And that will be 6 so far. We're going to skip right to the bottom. So this is the chain 2 that we began that row with. You're going to find the foundation chain at the very bottom of it and work a corner. 3 double crochet, chain 2, 3 double crochet. Now you're going to repeat up the other side, exactly opposite what you did over here. So you skip row 1's edge, you work 3 double crochet into the edge of row 2. Skip row 3, 3 double crochet into the edge of row 4. Skip a row, 3 double crochet, skip a row, 3 double crochet. And if you get lost, just look back at where your last shell should be and make sure you're working one directly opposite it. When you've completed your last shell, find the top of the chain 3 that began the row, slip stitch to join, and fasten off. You can take a moment to weave in all of your tails. I like to weave mine in across the back underneath some of the same colored stitches. And then you can put it aside and get ready to use it in an upcoming project. Or if you feel that it needs blocking, you can go ahead and block it. These look really great all done in cotton and make really cute pot holders or little dishcloths. And they're also just a nice way to use up some fun double crochet graphing. If you're trying the samplers out for our Fair Isle style blanket, and you've got a whole bunch of little samplers left over, then this is an easy way to turn them into granny squares, which you can turn around and use for other blanket projects down the road. I love double crochet graph work. Creating all these images is a lot of fun, but the samplers really do pile up. So it's great to have another thing you can do with them, like finishing them into little granny squares, so that you can put them aside and turn them into an even bigger project down the road. If you really enjoyed this kind of double crochet graph work that we've done this year, and like I said, we'll have that playlist down below in the description box, then please feel free to pop into our Etsy shop and check out the other graphs that we have. We have 36, 37, 38, and counting as of the recording of this video of different sorts of images that you can do with just simple, plain double crochet. Graph work is a lot of fun, it's not difficult, and making a sampler is a great way to get used to it. And of course, it doesn't go to waste if you could turn it into a granny square. We hope you enjoyed today's little quick fix on turning a sampler into a granny square, and we will see you soon here on the Jayda InStitches show. Until then, stay safe, stay crafty, and have a great week. Bye guys!
Hi everybody, Mr. InStitches here. Thank you for watching today. Here are some of our other videos you might be interested in. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe.